As a kid, I spent thousands of days taking the bus to Chinatown and eating dim sum with my grandmother. And later in life, she taught me how to make some of the dishes we'd be eating in the Chinatown dim sum halls. Today, I'm gonna show you how to make a fundamental dish that's ubiquitous with dim sum, Char Siu Bao. It's a Cantonese red roasted pork inside a steam bun, and I'm gonna show you how to make it with a modern day appliance, the air fryer. All right, so let's start with the barbecue pork marinade. It's a lot of ingredients, but they each have their very specific function. Hoisin sauce being the first one. Now, hoisin is a sweet bean sauce, so fermented soybeans, not salty, very sticky, really good for barbecue in general, not just Chinese barbecue. Then 5 spice powder, which is a collection of 5 different spices. But the one that you're gonna probably smell the most is going to be cinnamon. But there's fennel in here, there's pepper in here. It's a very warming spice, and it is a very dominant seasoning in Chinese culture. So the next one is really fun. A lot of the Chinese barbecue pork that you find in restaurants is loaded with food coloring to make it red. Back in the day, OG grandmothers would actually use this. It's a type of rice. It's called red yeast rice. But if you grind that rice down, it creates this gorgeous red color. So this is the natural way to get to that very red Chinese barbecue pork. Moving on down the line now, we've got thin soy sauce. Ketchup, yes, don't at me. Ketchup has a beautiful amount of sweetness, has a nice amount of acidity, and really ties this together quite well. Oyster sauce, we need to get that kind of thickness, glaze, and sweetness, so just some plain old honey works here. And then we want to use a little bit of sherry. We're gonna add a little bit more sugar here. And then the 2 aromatics are gonna be ginger and garlic. And if you've never used a rasp, it is a phenomenal tool. I really don't peel this ginger. All that is pure ginger pulp, no fibers, and I'm gonna tap that right into the bowl. All right, the next 2 cloves of garlic. I like to cut the back end off of the garlic, and that way the cloves separate very easily. The knife will help loosen these cloves up. But I want them on the whole side so I can run them along the rasp. So pure garlic pulp right there. So that's it, that's the marinade. You see how that red yeast rice powder is activating once it hydrates? Look at that red color. It's pretty stunning, I gotta say. Marinade is done, but before I swim my pork shoulder in here, I'm gonna separate a 1/4 cup, and I'm gonna add honey to that later to create a glaze for the actual cooking. So we're gonna actually be basting with this beautiful glaze. There it is, all right. This is probably one of the most prized pieces of pork there is. It is the shoulder. So I wanna create enough surface area so each side of this pork gets that love from the marinade. So this pork is pretty well submerged. Now we're gonna go in the fridge for a few hours overnight. Longer the better on this one. I have one done, and I'm gonna pull that out so we can get cooking. So I do want to take a second and talk about the air fryer. In China, they actually use forced air ovens, so a lot of heat and a lot of air, and that's why the air fryer is perfect. I really like cooking in these sheet pans that have an elevated rack because I do want air to get all the way around this. You're gonna get a really beautiful roast and those charred ends that get really crispy. You absolutely want to remove some of the marinade off this pork because there's a lot of sugar in here, and as we know, sugar tends to burn. So I'm just taking 1 or 2 sheets of paper towels, using tongs, so I'm not touching the pork, and just gently dabbing off a majority of that marinade. I've set the air fryer to 350 degrees on air fry, which all that means is it's running a huge fan inside, and that's gonna create that convection or forced air oven that's gonna char those edges and not dry out this pork as it cooks. All right, so this pork is ready to go. So we've been cooking the pork for about 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's starting to get nice and kind of caramely on the outside. Here's one more step to build even more flavor. We're gonna make a glaze. This is the reserved 1/4 cup of the original marinade with all those kind of sweet and savory flavors in there, and we're gonna reinforce that with a good amount of honey. It's actually gonna lock in the moisture of all the juices inside the pork. It's gonna make it super tender and moist on the inside. I'm starting to get a nice caramelization on the top side. I'm gonna take this glaze and just lock in all that flavor. And all that sugar on the exterior is going to get into that hot oven and further caramelize and get a little bit crispy. I'm basting once. If you fall in love with this glaze and want to do it 2 or 3 times, I'm not gonna be mad at you. This is also the glaze that you can hold your pork in after the cook so it doesn't dry out. All right, so we're going back in for about 5 or 10 more minutes or 165 degrees internal temperature. So while the pork finishes cooking, I'm gonna pull all the bun ingredients and show you how to make the bao dough. So this is that bun at the dim sum restaurant. That's that white fluffy bun, sometimes filled, sometimes not. In the mixing bowl, I'm gonna start with a little bit of cake flour, and I'm using cake flour because I want a very light, fluffy dough. I'm gonna put the sugar in there. This is baking powder, not baking soda. And then I'm using instant dry yeast, so I can mix it in dry and very slowly. I just want to kind of aerate and combine all of these dries. All right, so I've got half a cup of water. I'm gonna start my mixer and just slowly add my water in. I like to stop the mixer and then kind of get that dry bits of flour. So eventually, all of the dries are gonna grab on to the water, hydrate, and then form into one nice dough. You can start to see it pulling together. All right, so the dough ball has pulled together. All of that motion has created a nice amount of gluten. All that's gonna translate into nice puffy dough. So here is where my grandmother would have added a nice tablespoon of lard. Lard's the fat that comes from pigs that is firm at room temperature. If you don't wanna use it, or if you're not really excited about using lard, some vegetable shortening is gonna be great, but you do wanna add that fat in here. So I'm literally just kind of scraping it and pushing it onto the dough on the bottom of the hook, and it's gonna work together beautifully. This is gonna give the dough real beautiful richness. All right, that's looking good. It's super smooth. It looks nice and puffy, and I think it's time to pull our pork. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. I mean, come on. That's it right there. Perfect Chinese barbecue pork by itself. This is done. Slice it up, eat it over rice, eat it in noodles. It is the perfect ingredient. All right, so this dough ball is done. We're gonna need to let it rest now. So I have a clean bowl. I'm gonna lightly oil this bowl. I'm using pan spray, but just a little bit of vegetable oil is gonna work great. So what we need to do now is allow this dough ball to rest from all that kneading, and the yeast is gonna help it double in size. And then we're gonna be making our filling to complete our buns. All right, so we're just gonna cover this with a little wrap. Let this rest for about 90 minutes. Okay, so these vegetables are actually gonna become almost like a stock, like a very strong liquid base that's gonna encapsulate all the cut pork. It's a very cool technique. So I've started a saute pan on high. I'm gonna pour a little bit of oil until it coats the bottom, and we're gonna saute these veg up. So I'm not really looking for any specific cut. I just want them kind of even dices. So I'm doing probably about a 3/4 inch dice. So, and I kind of like to cook as I go, meaning I'm cutting onions first because that goes into the pan first. And what we're doing is actually pulling the flavor out of all these ingredients because we're actually gonna fish them out. So we're gonna cook all the essential oils out of them to kind of season our filling. So I've got a green bell, a red bell, and I only need half. And I'm not too worried about size. Medium dice is gonna work here. So I've got a really nice bunch of scallions. This practice of using very hot oil to extract the essential oils of all of these aromatics is a very old technique that we're gonna use here to make this filling. So we're really gonna cook that down as we pull out our other ingredients now. I'm cooking this on full blast. because I really want to break these down, and as they break down, they're gonna bring their flavors into this stock. All right, so next I'm gonna add sugar and our seasonings. So we've got light soy sauce here. I've got oyster sauce, and I've got some dark soy or black soy. Really get in there and allow this all to come to a nice boil. That boiling is gonna continue to break down these vegetables. It really cooks a lot like a stir fry, so nothing too complicated here. It smells incredible in here. And now I'm gonna add water, so we're pulling out the flavor of the vegetable. Again, we're building this very incredible, rich stock. The vegetables have done their job, and it's time to get them out of there now. I know, you're like, you're just throwing away these veggies, bro. Like, what's the deal? They've given us all they can in terms of flavor, and that liquid now is gonna bind with the pork. We're gonna thicken it up, and that's gonna be our char siu filling. It's time to turn this liquid into a paste. I've got water, and into this water, I'm adding a combination of potato starch and cornstarch. We're not just gonna thicken, we're gonna take this down almost to a gum, like a paste. My liquid is at a simmer. I'm gonna add my slurry in, and you're gonna see this go from a liquid to a sauce, then reduce down into a paste very quickly. Look at that, almost like a gel. And the reason why we want this pork inside this thicker gel casing is because, remember, we're gonna put all this pork into a bread, into a bao. We don't want it kind of steaming out and diluting that dough. I'm gonna switch over to a spoon. So I'm gonna cook this down until it almost can't run off the spoon. So what I'm looking for is, you see how that's running? I'm still gonna cook a little more water out of this until it's a stable gel and it doesn't pull off the spoon. All right, let's cut some pork. Usually fresh char siu is for the plate to eat. This could be like second day char siu, but you're getting the good stuff right there. Look at that cook. That is perfect. 165. The red color of that yeast rice has permeated. Wait, sorry, I got to. I'm sorry. This is the best Scooby snacks right here, I gotta say. That sweetness and the umami, the depth of flavor on barbecue pork is so outstanding. I'm gonna quarter turn now, and now cut it into small dice. So here we go. So let's continue cooking this. And that's it, team. This is going to tighten up into a very tight gel filling, and then we're gonna let that cool, and we're gonna finish our bao buns. All right, so the dough has been resting. It has doubled in size. My finger leaves an impression. That's exactly what I want. I'm gonna use a little bit of bench flour and then actually get the dough out. So what I'm trying to do is create a rectangular sheet. So I'm just gonna roll out from the middle. What we're going for is a 1/2 inch thick, square it off. Now what I'm gonna do is grab the sides. We're actually gonna now almost kind of laminate it. We're gonna create layers inside the dough by just rolling it up. And now I'm gonna cut this into 6 equal pieces. So if I start from the middle, I'll go 3, and we'll go 3 here. So I've created all the layers. I'm actually gonna press down this way, kind of top to bottom. And if you look really tight, you can start to see these little layers. And once it steams, they're gonna kind of open up and get vertical. That's the beauty of this technique. So it's time to roll these out. So I'm gonna take about 2 to 3 tablespoons of filling to put into the middle. There's a few ways you could do this, but I think the easiest way to begin is what I kind of call the tulip fold. So I'm gonna bring 2 sides together and create 3 sections here, all right? 3 very distinct sections, just like that. And then I'm going to pinch those off to seal them very tightly. I don't want anything coming out of this bao. So with the 3 sections, I'm gonna pull those corners, join them in the middle, now capturing it in my hand so I can start shaping. And you see these seams that I've created, the 3 seams? Push those seams together now, and that's it. I like the tulip fold a lot. So it's really important that you get a full rolling boil on your steamer. A variety of steamers can work. I just have the normal kind of 10-inch steamer basket. I've got about 3 inches of water, and as you can see, it is at a very aggressive steam. And that's important because you want to get that flour spring. This has to kind of heat up really quick to like 200 degrees and get that initial push, and that's going to activate that yeast. So all my baos are ready to go. Get them right in, close it tight to encapsulate that steam. So I'm gonna push the lid down, making sure I have a good seal. And don't peek. Resist the urge for at least 5 to 6 minutes. We're gonna do an 8-minute full steam, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna see these poofy, perfect Char Siu Bao. Okay, so it's been 8 minutes. I'm gonna be brave and check my steamer, hoping for puffy baos. Oh, yes. Where's the angel music when I need it, guys? You know you've done your job when those tulip folds actually open up. That's perfect, nice and pillowy. This is full steam, so carefully pulling these out onto a plate. I'm gonna let these cool down because they are quite hot. The smell is of almost like cotton candy, yeasty like sourdough. All right, so let's crack one open. That's it right there. Beautifully cakey on the outside, that Chinese barbecue pork on the inside. There's something really satisfying about cracking a recipe that you've eaten since you were a child, like with your grandmother, and figuring it out and making it. She's watching and she'd be super proud of me today. This is fun. It's a very nostalgic dish, and it takes me right back to my childhood. The dough, tighter than a cake, but not quite, spongy. The filling is salty, it's sweet, it's got all those flavors of 5 spice. It is absolutely an amazing accomplishment to be making Char Siu Bao at home. Today, I'm making a Cantonese classic you're gonna find on almost every Chinese restaurant menu, salt and pepper shrimp. It's super delicious, and I'm gonna show you just how easy this dish is to make at home. Plus, I'm gonna add a side of vegetable fried rice. Okay, I need that. And I need that. All right, friends, you are basically looking at the 2 superheroes of stir fry. So chicken powder, although it's called chicken powder, it doesn't read in the pan as chicken. No, it adds basically a flavor boost that pops all of your stir fry. It's not the same as chicken bouillon. It's formulated for Chinese food and makes incredible stir fry. So important, in fact, I call it chicken power in my kitchen. So use it in all of your stir fries. Oyster sauce is the soul of creating brown sauces for stir fries. So in the past, they've told us, soy sauce. No, oyster sauce has savoriness, has sweetness. It is the soul of stir fry. These two are stir fry superheroes. So for fried rice, day-old rice is always going to play easy in the wok. It won't stick, it's easy to cook. We're gonna need 4 cups of cooked rice, which means 2 cups of uncooked rice. I prefer jasmine, personally. I think it's got a nice fragrance. As for the shrimp, yes, I'm using peel-on, head-on shrimp because I think it's delicious, but if you can't get your mind around eating peels and peeling shrimp, feel free just to use kind of medium or large peeled and deveined shrimp. I'm always looking for kind of clear eyeballs and nice kind of clean ocean smell. You're gonna be fine, trust me. All right, so let's get all our chopping out of the way first. This is kind of a workflow, if you've cooked with me a lot, you should get into because it actually makes your life a lot faster. We're gonna knock out all the vegetables, put them on separate plates, and then we'll get into the cook because Chinese food is really kind of 90% prep, 10% fire. All right, so first let's dice an onion, and I'll always, as you know, do the top, the back, cut in between, and I like to peel. So once you're here, I'm gonna find that rainbow. Don't cut the onion all the way through. Always leave a little piece connected. That way, when you do dice, the whole onion doesn't fall apart. A really great tip I've got for you is instead of arranging 1,000 little bowls full of diced whatever or sauce, try to just bank or mise en place everything onto plates because that's gonna make your life a lot easier. Carrots, top, the bottoms, and then again, anything really wide, cut into 4 inches. And I want a little variation here, so why don't I do like half coins for the carrots? All right, for ginger, ginger's kind of a fun one, right? So I like to kind of break off the fingers to get that main piece of ginger, square that piece off so it sits up straight, and then watch what I do with the back of my knife. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure, peeling the piece of ginger. If you're comfortable with the back of the knife, then start moving to the edge of the knife. And it actually will get the job done a lot faster that way. You can do 2 sides in a matter of seconds. It's that Jet Tila cutting rhyme. A tile becomes a slice, and a slice becomes a dice. So first thing I'm gonna do is square it off. I'm gonna cut, 1/8" tiles here. I like to lay them all on top of each other and then bang them out all at the same time. 1/8" tiles becomes 1/8" slices. And for salt and pepper shrimp, I'm gonna want something on the diced side, so I'm gonna gather all these tiles, and I've just kind of rough minced my ginger. Simple. All right, scallions. Big question I always get is, do I use the whites or the greens? Dude, use it all. My grandma would be freaking out if I wasted any part of this. For the salt pepper shrimp, I want a smaller slice because what we're trying to do is create a crust, in essence, to crush the shrimp. These small slices are gonna blend with our spice mix and really adhere to the shrimp really well. And on the other side of things, for the fried rice, I could get a little larger, so we're gonna do an angled bias slice and make them a little larger because we want them to stand up in the fried rice. All right, done deal. And again, before you start to deal with like raw protein, it's just so much easier to get all your knife work out in one. Jalapeno pepper, we're gonna do the stem. If these are really fat, I might cut them in half, but they're not. So I'm just gonna cut nice thin rings, knowing they're gonna adhere to that spice mix. You never seed an Asian chili. Ever. Unless you're in a foofy, fancy French restaurant that's making Asian food. You know what? My grandmas and the chefs I've worked with would never seed a chili. Okay, garlic. I'm gonna need garlic for both dishes. So what I'll do, since I need a lot, is I'm gonna cut off the root side so these garlic cloves can pop out. With the roots off, just give them a nice flat smash and the cloves will pop right out. I'm totally okay with peeled garlic. But I wanted to show you the technique. On top of that, I think my culinary producers just want to torture me. Thanks, guys. Loving you. Fun. I'll be smelling like garlic for days. Okay, rough chop. Don't overthink this, especially using a wok, because the wok gets to 400 degrees and you don't want to over-process your garlic. Okay, a wee bit for fried rice, and the other part is going to be for salt and pepper shrimp. Bell pepper. So see the stem and you see the back? I'm gonna make my tiles, that first tile with the top, and if I've done my job right, check that out. Stem pops right out, okay? I'll do a tile off the bottom, and now find the tile sides, stay inside, make a quarter turn, and I wanna try to cut that seed pod out all in one, just like so. Yellow, same thing. Boom, boom. And then I'm gonna make a giant tile with the body and then cut it into smaller tiles. Vegetable fried rice. I mean, let's think about this, right? I'm getting a variation of knife cuts here, and I want the rice to kind of be prominent, so I'm gonna leave these cuts on the smaller side. So again, guys, tile, slice, dice. And we are in a good spot there. Some reds, some yellows, and we are in business. Okay, mise en place. Done. I mean, that's how fast your knife work can be, knocking it out all in one. Piles of beautiful cut vegetables and herbs, and this basically just saved us 10 little bowls, and those little bowls is what makes my wife really mad at me in the kitchen when she has to kind of clean up if I'm cooking. All right, so let's get started with the vegetable fried rice, veggies, rice, oil. I got my tools. It's all about mise en place. Fancy French word, but it's so critical. It just means everything must be in its place, because fried rice, like any stir fry, is a culinary equivalent to a roller coaster ride. Once this thing is at 500 degrees and ripping, you can't get off the ride and start crying and get freaked out. We just gotta get rolling. Okay, pan is hot, mise en place set. Eggs are the secret to very fluffy fried rice. The egg will coat the rice and make it super light. Keeps you from using a lot of oil. All right, first thing is gonna be a little oil. Next, aromatics, and in this case, it's gonna be the garlic. And I'm gonna do the onion as well. Let's get those kind of translucent, get those fragrant.
This next part is a dance. We gotta go egg and rice right afterwards because you want the egg to be still wet. And the whole idea is to smash the rice into the egg. You want full coating here. It's really magic because the egg covers the rice. It protects it from sticking to the pan. It gives it this almost like lightness and body to it. And once I season it, the egg is protein. And the little bit of fat in the eggs is really gonna pick up more kind of savory flavor. All right, vegetables. Got my carrots, got my bell peppers, and I'm gonna save my scallions for the end. I don't wanna overcook those. I just want you to use this recipe as a base for your favorite vegetables and proteins. As long as you get the order right, it's always gonna work out deliciously. Very bad juju to break rice in the Asian culture. So whenever I see these rice balls or these little pieces of rice that don't want to play ball, I use the back of the spatula and work them apart. Don't break rice. All right, I'm in the seasoning portion of this. So firstly, salt. I like to use soy, but just a little bit. And oyster sauce really kind of is the quintessential Chinese seasoning because it's got the savory, the sweet. It's got everything in it. Again, don't weigh down your fried rice with too much. A tiny bit of sugar. And for me, fried rice takes white pepper. White pepper to me has almost like a floral quality to it. And I'm seasoned. That's really it for me. And again, if you look at my fried rice, it doesn't look like I spilled a gallon of soy sauce in there. I still can recognize every other ingredient. And I'm just looking for a balance in colors, putting all those flavors together. And because I still need to make my salt and pepper shrimp, I'm gonna kill the heat here, garnish with half my scallions, and I'll save the other half for later. And yo, I'm in business. I mean, this is perfect for me. All right. Fried rice done, friends. Let's keep it nice and warm. So salt and pepper shrimp mise en place, as you can see here. I've got my shrimp, got my veggies, big old bowl of cornstarch, and can't fire this without a wok. So let's get that hot. This is kind of another dance act where we're gonna coordinate a lot of things happening at the same time. These shrimp have been rinsed and cleaned. I've left a lot of the moisture on them because I'm going to be dredging them really quickly and frying them. First thing I need to do is make the magic spice mix. So in a bowl, first thing we'll do is salt, and of course our chicken powder, and then I've got a little bit of white pepper, and then a wee bit of sugar. If you find yourself falling in love with salt and pepper anything, because you can salt pepper pork chops, chicken, whatever, make this spice mix times 10, put it in an airtight container, and just always have it handy. So that is ready to go. So next step is going to be frying up the shrimp. And again, tail on, shell on, head on. So I've got frying oil at about 350, 365, and this is gonna happen quickly. So as you can see, the shrimp, because they're wet, is picking up all that cornstarch. I'm not gonna knock that much off because I want that to create a crispy crust. Now, I'm not trying to cook these shrimp too far. I just want the exteriors very crispy, but the inside still moist. So this, depending on the size of the shrimp, could take just, I don't know, 30 seconds to 1 minute. Don't overcook these shrimp. And do them in batches because you're cooling down the oil as you throw them in there. With my cooling rack ready, I'm waiting for the cornstarch to just brown up a little bit so I can check them with a spider and let them roll just a little while longer while I start my second batch. Every Sunday as a kid, my family would gather at the Chinese Cantonese restaurant and do what we call turntable Chinese. Come on, you've had to have grown up at a turntable Chinese restaurant. And there were always staples on the table. Salt and pepper shrimp was an absolute staple. And it was almost like a rite of passage because the young kids were always like, ew, I can't eat the shrimp with the peel and the head on. So the parents would peel them off for you. And as you grow up and as you graduate, you start to figure out, yo, this isn't so bad. Your grandparents and your parents and your uncles would be like, oh, look at you, Jet, you're growing up. You learned how to eat the skin and the head and the whole deal. If you're totally freaked out by this head-on business, just get peeled and deveined shrimp, do exactly the same thing, and you will be good to go. So I'm about 3/4 done with frying shrimp. I'm gonna land them on my rack as I churn on this wok and get it really hot. My scrimps are cooked. They're ready for their next cooking. If you happen to have any delay between the first cook and the second cook, just pop these in a warm oven, like a 200-degree oven, while you're setting up your wok station. And that'll keep them nice and crispy. The wok is hot. I'm just gonna pull some oil from the frying side. It's got all that shrimpy flavor in it. And we're gonna start our aromatics in here. And what I mean by that is the garlic, the ginger, and some of the chilies. I want to get that on the crispy side, slightly brown. Then we're gonna marry our shrimp in there. It's a common technique to do this double fry situation. So check it out. I've got all that deliciousness crusted on there, the garlic, the ginger, the chilies, and it's absorbed it all. So I'm gonna take a little more oil now because I need the shrimp to have some oil on it for the magic dust. And I'm gonna toss to get the dust on there. So I'm using white pepper for a few reasons. It's lighter, it's more floral, and I think it just has a better flavor profile. And lastly, I'm gonna crust. Yo, if you can't do this kind of like pat your tummy and rub your head at the same time, don't worry about it. Just throw your scallions in. But that's it, man. That is salt and pepper shrimp. I can't tell you how happy I am right now making this for you, knowing I'm gonna be able to eat this soon. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off the heat, let this stay warm, and I'm gonna show you how to plate up both dishes in a beautiful tableau of Cantonese food. I mean, with such beautiful food, you don't really need to do much. I've got some pretty plates. I think I'm gonna do the platter au shrimp, and I'm gonna try to pile up at the top, and you always want those crunchy, fancy bits at the top there, all the garlic and ginger. And then finally with the rice, vegetable fried rice. This is one of those meals where you become the kitchen hero. If you go in and all of a sudden you walk out with these two awesome dishes, I mean, dude. A little bit of garnish for the rice. Same for the shrimp. I think it would be fun to kind of teach you how to eat the head on shrimp. What a pro would do is take the head first and actually eat all that delicious stuff out of it. And I have a very specific way of doing it. I like eating the tail piece first because I think it becomes nice and crispy. And then I just follow it up with the body. If you fried correctly, all of the shell has basically become the texture of potato chips, right? That spice mix that you made gives you that savory pop, the salt pop, the ginger, the garlic. It really is a perfect Cantonese bite. So when making curry, don't be scared to buy pre-made curry paste. I do it all the time. All the base flavors are here, and the experts are doing it because they've been doing it for 100 years. Everyone's talking about making their own paste, but dude, leave it to the pros. So you can't make curry without coconut milk. Trust me when I tell you, don't shake the can. You'll find out why when we get into the kitchen. So before we check out, I need some Thai lime leaves, also known as makroot. They come fresh, frozen, or dry. They're not just any lime leaf off any tree. So if you can't find them, just use some lime zest, because these are an essential flavor in Thai cooking. But I'm gonna bring my wife, Allie, into the kitchen. She'll show you how to cook these dishes. All right, Allie. Guess which one of your favorite dishes we're making now?
My very favorite? Is it my very, very, very favorite?
I have no idea. Do you know which one it is? Which one?
If it's my very, very, very favorite, it's Panang Curry.
Oh yes, ding, 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 ding. You are correct. So I'm gonna kind of get into it.
Let's get into it.
And then we should tell the story of the significance of this dish, because this really is the dish that brought us together.
Aww.
You know, right? All right, Panang Curry. Since you know this dish so well, do you mind prepping some of the vegetables?
Of course.
All right, excellent. And I'm going to talk to our friends about the two most important ingredients in Panang Curry. One is coconut milk and the other one is curry paste. Now, with coconut milk, Grandma always said, do not shake your can of coconut milk.
Why?
I'll tell you right now, Allie and friends, if you don't shake the can of coconut milk, you get this amazing layer of undisturbed coconut cream. And we're gonna need to use this coconut cream almost like frying oil or frying fat like you would use butter.
That's coconut heaven right there. I use that in a lot of different things. You can use it in desserts. I use it in my chia pudding recipe. I love that stuff.
So to start the curry, we're gonna take that amazing coconut cream at the top and use it like frying oil. I mean, this is basically just pure coconut oil, and a lot of people try to buy the stuff separately. You don't need to. Every can has some. Anytime you see a good coconut milk from Thailand, you're good to go, because you have at least 13% to 19% coconut oil. Not trying to get too nerdy, but I just did, whatever. So I'm using the coconut cream like oil. So the paste goes right in. I want to work this together, similar to a roux. The coconut oil is the fat, which helps really kind of fry and caramelize the paste.
It smells amazing.
It does, because what paste is basically is all these fresh herbs that we use in Thai cooking, right? Thai lime leaves, garlic, shallots, chilies. People are like, how long do I cook this curry paste? Because I don't know if I'm gonna burn it, I don't know if I'm cooking it enough. It should look like really tight peanut butter.
and you want to see a little bit of oil coming out of it. So that's about the consistency. It should be a nice kind of paste. All right, Allie, so you're slicing some onions there.
Right.
Could I have a few onions?
You
Because I
bet.
want to caramelize those. And then next, you've got a little bit of those Thai lime leaves.
I do.
Can you throw those in, please?
You got it.
Great, because what we're really trying to do is build flavors.
But that's one of the things that I love about your Panang Curry. It's like a carnival of flavor in your mouth.
A carnival, I love
It's a
it.
flavor carnival.
This is about the time when it looks like it's about to stick to the pan. It looks super dry. You're gonna add the rest of your coconut milk. So we should talk about kind of the significance of this dish. People might not know, but Ali Tila was an amateur dog trainer. I'm not trying to out you or anything.
You're outing me as the crazy dog lady.
Yeah, so I did a magazine, a national magazine article on how to make Panang Curry. We kind of didn't really know each other that well. And then you made this cool little video with all these call outs of making curry, like don't shake the can, I'm making Panang. It was to flirt with me, wasn't it?
I really wanted to steal your moves.
Okay.
That's really what it was.
That's all it was?
Well, the truth is I ate your Panang with some roti and I was like, I have to marry this man immediately.
Well, it all worked out. But I mean, I knew immediately. It was like lightning to me. There's a lot of people.
I married him for
making
free
fun of
cooking
me.
lessons.
All these dudes are give me a hard time. Like, all right, so let's not get too cheeseball-y. So you want to do the J cut?
Yeah.
I want to see you practice that J cut.
The J cut.
While I'm reducing, because all I'm doing here, just so you know, is reducing this curry until it's thick enough to coat the back of the spoon. And I'll show you that
Gotcha.
after the J cut.
The J cut, I also used to take cooking classes. Jet was my cooking instructor. He was the cute one, and the J cut was one of the.
So creepy. You were a young professional taking cooking classes. You weren't in culinary school. I just
Exactly.
wanted to be very clear about that. Okay, please, J cut.
So
away.
this was one of the first things that you taught us in the knife skills class.
Okay,
Was
yeah.
the J cut. So
Oh,
just
nice.
roll it out, right?
Coming in from one side, you're rolling around the seed pod.
Ha!
Very nice. You did the J cut.
See, I remember.
All right, I'm gonna give you one more culinary test. Could you please cut that into bâtonnette? Do you remember what bâtonnette
I
is?
do.
Bâtonnettes are basically just French fry cuts, about 1/4 inch wide, and they hold up really well in curry. Curry is also a really great place to use up any vegetables that are hanging out in your fridge. So carrots, broccoli, we're gonna use zucchini today. It really is one of those dishes that is let me clear out all the great vegetables that are left over in my fridge. Do you mind stirring while I cut some chicken?
Sure.
Awesome. So just keep that moving. Don't let the curry stick to the bottom of the pan and you'll be good to go.
Got it.
For chicken, we're using chicken breast here. I want to take the chicken breast cut with the grain first into about 2-inch wide blocks. And then I'm going to cut the chicken against the grain into small little tiles. This really is a great cut for just about any Asian application. Stir fry, a curry like this, a soup. This is the right way to cut protein for the Asian kitchen right here. If you could put the chicken in, very nice. Now, again, I'm just simmering this curry for a few reasons. A, to reduce it into a thick sauce, and B, to really cook that chicken through. And that won't take long because we cut it into nice thin planks. So, seasoning. Ali, test. What are the 5 Thai flavors?
Hot, sour, salty, sweet, umami.
Umami, wow, you went with a
Ding, ding,
fancy
ding.
word. Yeah, savory or umami, exactly. So I'm gonna season to all those 5 flavors. Wait, a follow-up. What's the Thai word for hot, sour, salty, sweet, umami in perfect balance?
The same word I think of every time I think of you.
Oh my God.
Yum.
Oh God, you're gonna do it in front of all these people? Are you seriously? All right, I'm embarrassed now. Yes, yum, that's exactly correct. So I need to season this for the yum, and this is how to do it. First crucial ingredient is fish sauce, which is salty and savory. Next, sugar to balance it out. I think there's a misconception. People think Thai food is super sweet. It's not overly sweet.
Well, what are your tips to people though on when do you have a dish that's achieved flavor balance?
Yeah, you know what?
How
I
do
think
you know?
that's a great question. How about I answer that by, I can teach people how to season for, like the order of seasoning. And the order is start with salty because we all know what that flavor profile is, right? So taste it, okay, it's salty enough. Then go to sweet, just like I've done, because we know what the balance between sweet and salty is, and then go to acidic, all right? And for this, I'm gonna be using tamarind paste, which is a fruit that grows all over the world. It has a very kind of tangy, sour flavor, but it has a sweetness to it, kind of like plum. And the heat comes from the chilies that are in the curry paste already.
And what kind of chilies are those?
So these are red chilies. They're not crazy hot like Thai chilies. They're probably close to like red serrano chilies. So the chicken, as you can see, is pretty much halfway cooked through. It's opaque on the outside. I want to marry my vegetables in now. I mean, these could be any combination of vegetables that you like. Do you want to help me out and pick a few basil leaves and throw that right in there? This is Thai basil. You can identify Thai basil because it kind of has purple stems and it smells like licorice. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has like a anise flavor to it.
And just whole, right?
Just whole. And that's it. I think there's only one way to know if this is delicious.
To eat it.
It's to taste it. So let's get some spoons. Take a taste. I'll take a taste.
This is my happy place.
I mean, describe it, right? Creamy from the coconut, balance, heat, and savoriness. I mean, and all those spices.
Nice spiciness. Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's warm.
So good.
And here's the way you tell if the curry is actually thick enough. You run a wood spoon through the curry, you draw a line, and if the curry holds its place and doesn't run across that line, it's thick enough to serve. That's why they call it coats the back of a spoon.
So it's like if you're making a creme anglaise, it's a nappe, right?
Oh, you gotta get all fancy and Frenchy on me. Yes, exactly right. In French, we called it a nappe. And you know, for us mortals that don't bake, it just coats the back of a spoon. So
I love you anyway.
Oh, whatever.
I love you anyway.
I can't be as good as you. And then, you know, I'm gonna add bamboo shoots right to the end because canned bamboo shoots really are already cooked and they really kind of take up the flavor of whatever you cook them in. So I'm gonna add them right here. And that's it. I'm just making sure the chicken is cooked through. The sauce looks like it's pulled together. The vegetables have a good snap to them. They're not too raw. I'm gonna bowl it up and let's taste it. I like to finish with a little bit of the Thai lime leaves. I think it looks awesome and it gives that real lemony pop.
It's so fragrant.
All the way through. Well, cheers, Allie. I've always wanted to do this on camera. Ding! Let's give that a taste. Jasmine rice is the way to enjoy Panang Curry, in my humble opinion. So a little bit of curry, a little bit of rice. You could even do it the other way. We could actually take the rice, smash it into the Panang, or you can go the other way. But it's kind of not complete without that kind of fragrant jasmine rice.
So delicious. Here goes the flavor carnival.
It kind of tastes like everything you love about Thailand, right?
Yes.
Because it's got all those basil notes, those savory notes.
The creamy coconut.
And it's non-dairy. I think a lot of people freak out, but it's totally non-dairy.
Oh, so good.
There it is.
I love it.
Today I'm making two Filipino favorites, chicken adobo, which is a delicious braised dish, and lumpia, tiny deep-fried egg rolls that are totally addicting.
All right, cane vinegar, water chestnuts. So Filipino food is delicious, but Filipino chefs are masters at vinegar. So this is sugarcane vinegar. So they crush the sugarcane, make juice from it, and then ferment it into vinegar. So you're gonna have these like floral notes to it. It's gonna have these sugarcane notes. This really is a fun vinegar if you've never played with it. Now, water chestnuts have kind of gotten a bad name over the years. People are using it to kind of just for filler. I mean, let's celebrate the water chestnut. It is crunchy. It is sweet. It is such an underrated ingredient, and I'm gonna show you how to make it a star. So the last thing I need are these lumpia wrappers. Now they might look like egg roll wrappers, but they're actually thinner and they're more like a pastry skin than a noodle sheet. In essence, what an egg roll wrapper is. They fry up super light and crispy, and if you can get them at the Asian store, they'll be in the freezer section or the deli section. So to get started with the adobo, I'm using legs and thighs because I just like dark meat. I think they're a little more tender, there's more flavor, but if you want to use breast, just use whole chicken breast. So I need to start by marinating these chicken thighs. But before that, I do want to trim off any excess fat or skin that I don't need. So what I usually do is I'll kind of just examine both sides to see if I have a lot of skin that comes off kind of where it connects to the chicken. This is kind of what I'm talking about right here. On the underside of the chicken thighs, if you see these little flaps of skin and fat, I just trim them off. Do not throw these away, by the way. I basically collect them all and I'll slowly render and fry them to kind of make my own little popcorn chicken. I kind of call that the chef's privilege. No one wants it. I absolutely want it, and I'll snack on them kind of through service. That's nice and clean. I can see a little flap there. I'm gonna trim that. Yeah, this one's got a lot of fat and skin on it. And I'm really trimming because that's just gonna give me kind of excess fat that I don't need in the final adobo, but that's gonna be super delicious deep fried. So this is gonna be our marinade vessel. I really like these shallow rectangular glass vessels because in a bowl, you get way too much marinade, so you're wasting a lot of ingredients. This is gonna give me the perfect amount of marinade just to cover the chicken. All right, so I'm switching over to soy sauce, so it's time to wash my hands. So this can disappear and we can focus on just the leg thighs. The marinade is really simple. I'm starting with 6 cloves of garlic, but to get the flavor of the garlic, I do want to break them up a little bit. And I'm just gonna basically take flat part of my knife and just lean until I hear a snap. Listen, perfect. I'm not trying to break this up into a ton of pieces. I just want them to expose all their flavor. And that's it right there. We're gonna use this marinade again in the actual making of the adobo when we take it to the braise. Next, it's just soy sauce. I'm using regular old soy sauce here. I want to get enough to actually cover the chicken, so don't be scared if you have to remove the little kind of spout there. This does a few things. We're gonna get a lot of flavor into these leg thighs before we actually sear them off and braise them. All right, I wanna make sure I've got garlic kind of swimming. I wanna make sure I have enough soy sauce to get the marinade going. So I'm simply just gonna cover these tightly with a little plastic wrap and let them hang out in the fridge for about 30 minutes. So my adventure into Filipino food is a fun one. So, you know, we had the first Thai grocery store in America, started in the 70s, but the neighborhood started shifting in the 90s. Our little Thai grocery store started to shift into a Filipino grocery store. The neighborhood shifted, we had to really convert from a Thai market to a Filipino market, and we had this phenomenal group of caterers. You know, I called them my aunties, my Filipino aunties. What they did over the course of a decade was give me kind of personal one-on-one food coaching. I started to learn all these new Filipino ingredients. Instead of calling it fish sauce, I called it patis. Instead of Thai shrimp paste, I started to learn bagoong. And then I needed to learn pastry skins and lumpia and adobo. It was really fun kind of spending that decade hanging out with my Filipino aunties and learning Filipino food. So as you can see, the soy sauce has really penetrated the skin and the actual chicken. The garlic is married in nicely. The next thing we have to do is actually get these frying. The enemy of frying is moisture. So what I want to do is pat these dry while I get this pan really hot. So anytime you're working with raw proteins, paper towels are my best friends because the marinade has done its job. The soy sauce is inside the chicken, so I want to try to get the exterior as dry as possible. You know, adobo is like so many dishes from around the world that was really created through necessity. You know, in the Philippines, like a lot of Southeast Asia, weather is really hot. So the way to preserve anything usually is either salting, drying, or pickling, and the use of vinegar in this dish actually kind of raises the pH and allows you to hold this chicken dish for a lot longer. So it really was a preservation method turned into something very delicious. So I've got a braising pan, which in my opinion is something that holds heat very well, has a decent coating on the bottom where I can really kind of let this start to simmer without it sticking to anything. I'm just gonna use high temperature, low flavor oil, peanut, canola, grapeseed, any of those work great. And I want to start by rendering the fat out of these and getting a nice browning. And I'm being very deliberate about getting this as dry as possible. I actually like to start with the skin side down. Use the sides of the pan so you get heat from two sides. So you want to tuck up those chicken thighs as tight to the pan as possible. And another good tip, anytime you're stovetop frying, is if you feel you're getting a lot of splash of oil, you can use a paper towel and tongs to kind of dab out the excess. All right, I'm gonna let that brown up really well as I tidy up a bit. I want to reserve these garlic cloves because they're going to end up going back into the adobo. So my job right now is to just be thoughtful about getting these brown and not overcooking them. I would leave them alone for probably the first 2 or 3 minutes just so the skin can sear. At that point, it's going to be a little sticky. And then after it sears and cauterizes, it's going to lift up really nicely on its own. That's what I'm talking about right there. Wow, the soy sauce really helps the caramelization of this chicken. That one's ready to go. I mean, you don't want to rush this. Let that browning occur because browning means flavor all the way around. And again, use the little paper towel trick if you're getting too much splatter. Because you really just need enough oil to sear the skins and no more. I want to get as much of the surface area brown as possible because I'm prepping these skins to braise, meaning I'm going to introduce a lot of liquid in there, so the tighter and the crispier the skin is now, it's going to hold through that long process of moist cooking. It's time for aromatics. So these are fresh bay leaves out of my garden. If you don't have fresh, you could use dry. So let's get those in there crackling. You hear that? That bay leaf is talking to me, telling me it's happy. I want some peppercorns in there. And my real simple technique is just to get a pan and crack them open. You hear that? Just a little loosening to get all those essential oils out. I'm gonna add those to the pan. And what I'm doing is blooming those herbs and spices in there to really maximize their flavor. I've got both sides of the chicken brown. We're gonna pour in our reserve marinade with those garlic cloves. And to accomplish a braise, I need a liquid medium. And my liquid medium here is going to be chicken stock. A braise is a very specific method of cooking. It means you don't want that liquid to go further than about halfway up. You want to leave some of the chicken exposed. So what I need to do now is cover this tightly and let it simmer for about 40 minutes. And that's going to allow the chicken to really tighten up and marry all those delicious flavors in there. All right, it's time to work on the lumpia. And all that really means is bringing together a lot of vegetables, herbs, and protein to make a delicious filling. I'm gonna start by opening the can of water chestnuts. I only need 4 ounces. This is an 8-ounce can, so I'm gonna drain out the water. For these lumpia, I'm gonna try to process these ingredients down into almost a smooth paste. Water chestnuts done, I'm just gonna go through all these various vegetables pretty quickly because the machine's gonna handle the rest. So scallions in half lengthwise. Now I'm just gonna cut them into smalls. Next, we're gonna do onion. I only need 1/4 of an onion, so I'm gonna take 1/4 peel. I'm just gonna cut it into a small dice so the food processor can take it even finer. Same thing, mushrooms. With these shiitake mushrooms, I'm just gonna take the stems out and just use the caps. And I'll gather them, give them a 1/4 churn, and then fine dice them. I know it feels like a lot of work, but it really is worth it to get a very smooth lumpia farce or filling. Garlic, just gonna give it a smash, and then just a mincing pass. And to round out the herbs and vegetables, just a little bit of shrimp and some ground pork. So looking at my ingredients, I think the shrimp, because of their shape and size, are gonna take a little effort, so I'm gonna put them in first. I wanna do it in pulses because any of the large pieces, during that pause and the pulse, it drops down to get chopped. So the shrimp is tiny, but not to where it's paste yet. That's good for me. I'm gonna dump that into the bowl. And I'm processing kind of in reverse order. Whatever takes more effort goes in first. And no need to clean the bowl in between because it's all gonna end up together anyway. I'm gonna add all the vegetables and herbs now. And if you have a very large food processor that will accommodate everything, just do it all in one. Let's pulse this up. So to this, I'm actually gonna add some of the pork now, because I think I can work those all together. Oh, it'll fit all of it, perfect. And if I get any pieces that are not getting down to the blade, I'm just gonna give it a little assist with the spoon. Perfect. It's very similar to making a meatball, except we're gonna put that stuffing into an egg roll. I'm gonna get the food processor out of the way and finish seasoning in the bowl on the cutting board. So here's what I'm gonna need for seasoning. Of course, fish sauce, as they would say, patis in Tagalog. Soy sauce. Like all delicious Southeast Asian food, it's kind of the 5 flavor rule. So we want a little sweet with the savory and the salty, the sour and the heat. And then just a pinch of white pepper. So that's it for seasonings. I'm gonna work this together now until all of the ingredients are one and all of the flavors are together. If you're not gonna use the filling immediately to make lumpia, cover this tightly and put it in the fridge, but I'm going right for it. We're gonna start building our lumpias right now. So these are the lumpia wrappers we picked up, and they are kind of moisture sensitive, meaning you don't want them to be opened and just left out in the air too long because they will dry out. So open these very, very close to building your lumpias. And as you can see, they're in a very, very tight cluster. So what I like to do is kind of pull maybe a third or halfway in and then work that way versus trying to peel that perfect layer from the top. So pull that. I'm gonna start with this piece as my first sheet. And for the traditional lumpia, it's 1 sheet per egg roll or per lumpia. Just like that. There we go. So I've got the filling. I've got my wrappers. Now I just need a little medium to kind of glue this all together. An egg is gonna be the perfect medium. So lumpias are really fun to make. Unlike Chinese egg rolls, where you're trying to make this giant log of filling and then roll it over, what I like to do is to make a nice kind of flat paste of filling that go about 1/3 of the way up. Once you've got 1/3 coverage, I'm actually gonna roll over and then pull back and gather the filling, like so. And then I'm just going to tuck and roll, making sure there's no air in this egg roll. And then once I'm at the point where I have about a 2-inch lip, I'm gonna take some of that egg to make a little bit of glue. And then watch what I do. I'm gonna pinch just the ends, grab any excess filling there, and then close it up. And I'm gonna let it rest on that pleat side so it adheres to the roll, and I'm good to go. So the lumpias are made and it's time to fry. So I'm frying always in a high temperature, low flavor oil, peanut, canola, grapeseed, etc. 350 to 365, and I'm gonna lower these in slowly. What I'm looking for is the oil to kind of start that bubbling, and I've got that. And then I'm gonna let it go. Every time you add something cold into the oil, it brings the temperature down. So I would cook these in batches as you go. And the only way to really know your oil temperature is a thermometer. I've always got one handy to check meat temperatures and to check oil frying temperatures. So because these are so thin, they're gonna cook up really quickly. So I'm looking for a golden brown shell, and by the time they get there, I know that the shrimp and the pork are gonna be cooked through. If you're ever in doubt and you wanna make sure your food's safe, just stick the thermometer inside the egg roll, and if you hit 165 degrees, you're perfectly safe. If you're not gonna eat them right away, you can actually freeze them raw. You can actually freeze them cooked as well, and then to bring them back, I just throw the cooked frozen lumpia right into an air fryer for about 8 to 10 minutes, and they are perfect. So they make the perfect snack for my kids. If I'm just jonesing for a crispy lumpia, I like to cook them, hold them frozen after cook, and just pop them in the air fryer or the oven or the toaster oven. So that's what I'm looking for right there. Golden brown, delicious. I'm gonna drain it right onto the rack. All right, so lumpias are done. I'm gonna let them drain on the rack. I'm gonna finish my adobo, and let's put this all together. I mean, look at that. The chickens are braised. You can see it kind of tight off the bone, so I know it's gonna have that nice kind of pull on the mouthfeel. Just to finish, I'm gonna add a few ingredients. Our cane vinegar. Remember, the Filipinos are masters of vinegar. The adobo was originally a way to preserve meat for long periods of time. Next, I'm gonna add a little bit of sugar. And finally, to kind of pull it all together, I'm gonna add a little cornstarch slurry. And all the slurry is equal parts cornstarch and water. And as I mix it, and the cornstarch comes to a simmer and hits that 180-degree mark, this is gonna pull together into a really beautiful, almost sticky sauce, which coats rice beautifully. The flavor that you're chasing is a really nice balance between savoriness with just a hint of acid, which brightens it, and then the sugar underneath really gives it almost like a Chinese 5-spice kind of stew flavor. So let me show you how to put this Filipino feast together. I'm gonna serve the lumpias long on this platter, and I'm gonna show you a very simple sauce that's made up of 2 ingredients. So for the sauce, I love this sweet chili sauce, but I think I want a little more tang in there to really kind of pay that homage to that delicious kind of acidity in the adobo. So I'm gonna back that up with just a little more cane vinegar. and stir that together. And for the adobo, I'm gonna do a family style plate and being very gentle to not break up those leg thighs. The bay leaf, the garlic, the peppercorns, you know, they added a lot of flavor. I just want to leave them in. Just make sure to warn your guests, the bay leaves are not to be eaten. They're more decoration now. My favorite part of cooking, tasting. Look at that. It's tender. It's really succulent is the word. And just that hit of acid really rounds out this dish. And of course with the lumpia, that's what I want right there. Crispy outside, soft, tender on the inside. I mean, this really is the perfect Filipino meal, in my opinion. So there it is, my friends. Chicken adobo, these beautiful little lumpia. I hope I've made my tias proud, and I hope I inspired you to make these dishes at home. We'll see you guys next time. Guys, today is super controversial. I'm making a dish that some say is for sure Chinese, but others argue it's totally American. I say it doesn't matter because it's freaking delicious. That's right, today is all about orange chicken, and I'm throwing in a side of fried rice. Chicken powder is really the secret of every single Chinese restaurant in America. It's actually this that gives you saltiness and savoriness, not really soy sauce. For ultimate crispy orange chicken, get tempura flour. It's a mix of all-purpose flour and cornstarch. It fries up super crispy, but a little light. I can get a little nerdy, but just know this is the stuff. First things first, let's make our fried rice. The secret to great fried rice is using day-old rice. This is just cooked rice hanging out in the fridge. It's dry. If you are using fresh rice, just make sure it's cool, dry, ready to go in the pan. I'm gonna start with some eggs. Another really great tip that Grandma taught me, fresh eggs make fluffy fried rice, and I'll explain that to you here in a second. 2 eggs, just give it a good whisk so it's nice and even. Starting the pan with some high temperature oil. Now you gotta coordinate really quickly here. It's gonna be eggs and then rice right into the eggs. Don't let your eggs set. While those eggs are still wet, pour your rice right into the eggs. And then literally, you're gonna be coating the rice with egg. What's happening is the eggs are coating the rice and it creates this naturally non-stick surface because egg has protein, but it also has a little bit of fat. And you're using that fat from the eggs versus putting a ton of oil in to the pan. As that is cooking, I can put a little onion. So really great fried rice should not be dark and full of soy sauce. Here's the tip, a touch of sugar, a little bit of chicken powder, and just enough soy sauce to kind of give that soy aroma, but not make it dark and heavy and salty. A lot of the salt from this dish is actually coming from the chicken powder. This is really great Hong Kong style fried rice, meaning eggy, light, fluffy. This is the fried rice that my grandma taught me how to make a bazillion times growing up. And you don't see this style often, but I think it's one of the best ways to cook and eat fried rice. And then I'm gonna add some scallions, and this is the perfect side of fried rice for the orange chicken. Visually, what you're looking for is the egg to be cooked through and the rice to be nice and fluffy. And I'm gonna hold this in the oven, but you can put this in a casserole dish or a bowl and just have it hanging out till you're ready to eat orange chicken. So to get some vegetation into this dish, I wanna cook off some broccoli, and I'm gonna use my buddy Chef Mike, meaning Chef Microwave. Yeah, I know, it's cheesy, but effective. I've got broccoli florets in the bowl, a little bit of water in here. I'm just gonna season this and then cover it with plastic. And I'm gonna ask Chef Mike to cook this on high for 3 minutes and I'm good to go. All right, so let's get to the orange chicken part, and I'm gonna start with the sauce. I mean, everyone's got love for this dish. You go to the mall, you've eaten this about a bazillion times, but I wanted to make my elevated version that actually has orange in it. Now, most people don't actually put any orange juice in their orange chicken, but I do, so let's start with that. So to that, we're gonna add sugar, soy sauce, little paprika, oyster sauce, hoisin sauce, and I'm gonna make a little slurry with my vinegar, a little rice vinegar. So I've added the cornstarch to the vinegar. I need to get it stirred around to activate it. So visually what I'm looking for is the bubbles to start getting smaller and smaller. That means the cornstarch is activating and the sauce is thickening into a nice glaze. So I'm just gonna reserve the sauce and move on to the chicken. So to prep the chicken, I've got chicken thighs and tempura flour. I'm using chicken thighs because it's more moist and I get way more flavor out of it. The nugget won't dry when you fry it.
I'm really just going for about 1 to 1.5 inch cubes. So tempura flour is doing double duty. The first thing it's gonna do is dredge the chicken. And all that means is I wanna get enough flour on the chicken so it'll hold on to the batter. Next, I'm gonna add some water to the rest of the tempura flour to make a nice thin batter, like a pancake batter. Perfect, so this is looking to me like beautiful pancake batter. You wanna make sure your oil is at 375 degrees before you start frying, because the magic number is 350. When you put food in frying oil, it brings down the temperature. And what I'm doing is I'm dropping the nuggets into the batter, letting them really pick up a good amount of batter and get it right in. You wanna fry these just a few pieces at a time. You wanna come in with the spider to kind of separate any nuggets that are sticking together. I'm gonna cook these until they're GBD, golden brown delicious, and let them drain on a wire rack. So the chicken is super crispy. It's golden brown delicious. I'm gonna let the chicken rest on the wire rack, drain off a little bit, and set up the final phase, which is the stir fry. I'm starting with a hot pan and put a little oil in it. So like most stir fries, you're gonna go aromatics. Garlic, ginger, and I'm gonna add the chicken to the pan. A little bit of onion, scallions. Because the glaze is sugar-based, it's not gonna penetrate and sog out the chicken. It's just gonna sit on top. It's gonna marry onto all that crispiness. I'm not really worried about the chicken being cooked through because I've already fried it. So I'm really just trying to get a nice even coating here. Once everything's coated, I'm ready to marry the rice and the orange chicken. I can't make this dish because I always get hungry and I want to eat it immediately. So now it's time to plate up. I'm gonna start with the fried rice that we made, bringing the orange chicken to the game. Oh yeah, that glaze is incredible. And then dot it with our broccoli. Dude, I'm gonna monster this whole plate. I'll see you later. Go, get out of here. General Tso's chicken. It's one of those kind of super craveable dishes that has the sweet and the crunchy and the savory all in it. All right, so I'm gonna start with the classic Chinese aromatics, ginger and garlic. Okay, onions. I need a half an onion. Broccoli florets. Just break them all up. I wanna cook the broccoli in a microwave. It's gonna give me that perfect steam without bringing out a giant pot of water. Scallions. Whites or greens, what do we use? We use it all. Deboned, skinless chicken thighs. And I wanna cut them into about a 1-inch cube. Tempura flour is part AP flour, part cornstarch, actually making a batter. You know what pancake batter looks like. Just kind of shoot for that. I need a little bit of a coating. Dump it right into the batter. Let what's in the fryer just kind of keep going. As you can see, this takes a minute, so don't rush this. You want nice kind of light golden brown nuggets, and you want all your chicken to be cooked through. Oyster sauce, probably the most important Chinese sauce. Hoisin sauce, which is a sweet sauce. Chili garlic sauce. Do not use sriracha water to thin this all out. Soy sauce, and then the tanginess comes from white vinegar. Just a nice drop. If you want that crazy nuclear magazine color, put another drop in there. Sugar. Introduce the cornstarch slowly. Just a hair of ginger and garlic, because I want to leave the rest for the pan. Chicken pieces are perfect. Always want to get our wok up at full blast. I can just use this frying oil. Any neutral high temperature oil, peanut, canola, vegetables, fine. Stay away from olive oil for the Asian kitchen. Let's add these dry chilies. Here we go. I am salivating. A little garnish of scallion. General Tso's, better than takeout in the comfort of your own home. So for the quicker beef pho, I'm using a thin sliced steak cut, which is usually available at the Asian markets. If you can't get it thin like this, don't worry. Take a nice steak cut, freeze it for about 40 minutes until it's almost frozen, slice it with a nice sharp knife, and you're good to go. These are the rice stick noodles for pho. Make sure to buy extra in case you mess up your first batch. Also, when I was a kid, stocking these shelves, they were my favorite things to stock, not like those 50-pound rice bags. So the last thing we're gonna need for pho is fish sauce. It might sound a little weird if you're not used to using it, but it's such an important ingredient to Vietnamese and Thai cuisine. Make sure you're getting the one that's amber in color and nice and clear. So we're back from the market. Let's start the prep for the quicker beef pho. I'm gonna start with vegetables and then move on to making my stock. So I'm gonna need onions kind of two ways. I'm gonna take the top, the bottom, and then I like to peel the onion while it's in half like this. I developed this pho dish because everybody likes to eat pho, but no one wants to make the 2-day broth. This is a really nice kind of hybrid version where you get the aromatics from all your spices, but you're not gonna sit there and roast bones and literally wait 2 days. This pho is really the perfect elixir. You know, when the kids are kind of in from school, they're sick, the weather's really cold, there's nothing more comforting or warming than having a nice bowl of noodles and pho broth. I'm cutting the half of the onion paper thin for the top of the pho broth. The idea is that super hot broth is poured over the noodles with the onions on it, and these onions kind of melt in but still keep some texture. So the other half of the onion I'm gonna use for stock. So I'm just gonna rough chop it into large pieces. These onions are making me cry. I'm starting to think about my kids when they're sick. This is so sad. As you can see with the ginger, I've just left the skins on and I'm slicing them into thin pieces to get a lot of surface area for the stock. With the scallions, I'm just slicing them into thin slices with a little bit of a bias for garnish. I'm cutting a lot of garnishes, but what's cool about pho is it's kind of like a choose your own adventure dish. You leave all the garnishes out and whoever is coming to eat the pho kind of builds their own pho the way they like it. These are red serranos. They're kind of the perfect chili because they're not too hot. I just cut a ton of these and leave them on the plates, and whoever likes heat can go for it. And the last ingredient is gonna be lime. I'm just cutting the wedges off the side, kind of leaving the middle seed pod alone. And you leave these out for whoever wants a nice shot of lime to make the pho a little sour. Come in, come really, really tight. The first spice is star anise. It looks like a little star. It smells like Christmas if you think about it. All these 3 spices you buy during the holidays for like cider and you never use them again, so here's the perfect place to use them. So star anise is there. Cloves. Cloves look like little kind of reedy sticks with a little spice ball right on top. And then cinnamon. I know you've got a ton of this laying around from the holidays. So what I'm gonna do is make a really cool satchel. So check this out. In a little plate, I've got some cheesecloth. In the middle of the cheesecloth, I'm gonna lay all the spices in. And they're really overwhelming, and that's why I'm making a satchel, because I can actually put it in the stock, and once it's flavored, if I could pull it out. If I just dumped a ton of spices in the stock, it could overwhelm and taste like Christmas beef stock, which is not delicious, although beef pho is delicious. I'm just wrapping it up into a nice, clean little packet. So I like using butcher twine here because I want to be able to tie this off and be able to pull it in and out of the stock. These are really delicious, but they can go a long way if you leave them in. So let's build the pho broth. First thing we're gonna start with is beef base. I know, controversial, some of you are gonna give me a hard time, but I need you to trust me. Trust me on this. I'll get you to delicious pho. This is where you're gonna save 2 days of cooking right here. Beef base is exactly as its name implies. It gives you that nice beef flavored foundation. A really quick note on fish sauce. Such a fundamental ingredient in Vietnamese food. Now, you know the bottle that's been sitting in your fridge for about a year? It's time to get rid of it because it's probably gone opaque and totally dark like soy sauce. Really fresh fish sauce should be amber and totally translucent in color, just like this. A little more salt, because fish sauce is definitely on that seafood side. I want to go straight salt to give a clean saltiness to kind of boost up that beef flavor. We want to balance those flavors with a little bit of sugar. And now the aromatics, and the aromatics are ginger and onion. I'm gonna let this broth come to a simmer for about 40 minutes and let the onions and garlic marry right into the broth. The last step to finish this broth is adding all those spices from the sachet. Be mindful to not oversteep these. When these are done, you're gonna pull it right out and then you're ready to serve the pho. You're gonna wanna simmer the spices for about 30 to 45 minutes until you just taste all these kind of amazing aromatics. So it's been about 30 minutes. I just wanna taste this before I pull the sachet out. I distinctly taste all the spices, but they're not overpowering. So it's time for the sachet to go away. So my broth is finished, all the garnish is ready. Let me show you how to build this bowl. We're starting with some rice stick noodles that have been soaked and soft. You can also use fresh rice stick noodles here. I'm gonna bundle them into the basket and just give them a really quick dip to cook them. You know, if you don't have one of these noodle baskets at home, a regular colander or sieve is gonna be fine. So just a few seconds in the hot water, drain them well, and then put right into the bowl. So noodles are in. This is the choose your own adventure part. And don't be scared to just do it any way you like it. There is no wrong way. My favorite pho combo is fully loaded, meaning every single garnish plus a ton of sriracha and a ton of hoisin. And if you're gonna do the rare thin beef, make sure to put it on top because it looks really cool there. And don't worry, this is so thin that when that hot broth hits it, it's gonna cook it right away. You wanna make sure that your broth is ripping hot because you want it to cook the meat and then really kind of marry all those flavors together. One of my favorite dishes of all time right here. Feel free to do a little more garnish on the top. I like some scallions, some chilies, a little bean sprouts, and you are good to go. So hoisin and sriracha, it's a total choice situation. Some people like to shoot it in and mix it into the soup, or some people like to dip. I'm more of a dipper than putting the hoisin and sriracha inside. I want to pull some of the noodles and build a little nest of noodles into the middle of the spoon. Add your favorite garnishes. Make sure I've got a little onion, I've got some cilantro, all those really fun goodies in there. Then I take the beef and I do a little dipper and make sure it's touching both sauces. Into the spoon, gather some soup. There's really nothing more kind of complex yet comforting than a great pho broth. You've got all the flavors from the spices, you've got all these fresh herbs, and then the core of it is this delicious tender beef and the beef broth. My family popularized pad thai in America over 40 years ago when we opened the first Thai restaurant. So it's super cool to be sharing our recipe all while shopping here at my family's Thai market in Hollywood. Let's get started. So instead of green onions, I'm gonna pick up some garlic chives. I love them because they really smell and taste like a cross between onions and garlic, and it's actually a traditional nod to old school pad thai. So it's time for baked tofu. This is great for wok cooking because it doesn't fall apart. It's also pre-marinated in a little soy sauce, so I love this for pad thai. This is not the stuff in water that breaks up. Don't use this for the wok, use the baked tofu. Tamarind is an essential flavoring for pad thai. Instead of using the whole fruit, which can be cumbersome, go for the liquid tamarind. It might say tamarind concentrate or liquid tamarind on the bottle. It's correct, especially if it's from Thailand. So before I check out, I wanted to get some banana leaves. I'm gonna use it as a really great plating implement, but traditionally they've steamed food in it, they cook food with it. It's a very cool way to make your pad thai look awesome. All right, Mom, you know what we're making? Can you guess by my ingredients?
Pad Thai.
Pad Thai, very good. Excellent. Do you know how to use this machine? Have you not been on the cashier long enough? Who taught you how to make Pad Thai?
Truth.
Don't do TV talk, real talk.
No. I mean, you.
That's right. See, there you go. I got it on film. Exactly right. Man, can we get another cashier here? This is really, I'm just kidding. It's taking forever. Basically, for the price of going out to eat pad thai, I'm stocking my pantry. So if you get a little bit of sticker shock here, don't worry. You're building your Asian pantry as you go, and you're gonna be able to use these ingredients to make just about everything. All right, guys, so we're back from the store. It's time to get prepped for our pad thai. The first thing we need to really do is soak these noodles. Don't ever boil these noodles. Very simply soak them in warm water. And warm water means warm bath water. So you're like, oh, that feels comfortable. I'd take a bath in that water. That's the right temperature. The noodles actually have to go through like 3 steps of cooking. This step is soaking to reconstitute. The next will be frying in the pan, and then the sauce goes in and they absorb all the sauce. Super simple. So I got the noodles soaking. Let's move on to more pad thai prep. The next thing I'm gonna cut is the savory tofu. So like any other protein, I just wanna cut this into a nice thin plank. So half first, and then line up both halves and cut them into thin little planks. As long as they're even and you can pick them up with a chopstick, they are a good size. So next I'm gonna do garlic chives. Now, you just wanna simply cut them into about 2-inch lengths on a bias, meaning instead of perpendicular, angle the knife, boop, there you go, just like that. Super simple. If you can't find garlic chives, don't freak out, just use scallions. All right, those are done, and always garlic. Just smash, smash, smash.
and then rough chop. You don't want to mince these too fine because you don't want really fine garlic playing with 400-degree oil, because that's instant garlic charcoal. No bueno. So finally, I'm gonna show you a cool peanut trick. These are roasted peanuts, not salted. You can do the knife, but why knife it when you have a saucepan? And you're just simply gonna lean and press using the edge of a saucepan. And you get these kind of fun, uneven, big chunky shapes. And I'm not looking for absolute uniform peanuts because I want that kind of texture variance when I eat this. Boom, super easy. Peanuts are chopped. Now, let's get to that banana leaf we bought at the store. These are actually really cool. They basically come right off the banana tree, and they're giant. We're just gonna use them as a little plate garnish, and I'm gonna show you what I mean. So I'm grabbing a little bowl kind of as a stencil. I know Anne Burrell gets really mad at me for doing this, but that's the only way to get the leverage that I need to punch out this circle. So I'm following the lines of the bowl. One way, I'm gonna come around the other way, and it's even, steady pressure. Now holding this down, lifting away the banana leaf, and hopefully I've done my job. And voila, perfect little circles. Aw, there you go, boom. This is done. Let me move on to protein and sauce, and we're ready to cook. Thai people believe in balancing 5 flavors: hot, sour, salty, sweet, and savory, also known as the yum. All that word means is the balance of hot, sour, salty, and sweet. First ingredient, fish sauce. It's salt and savoriness. After that, a little bit of vinegar, but we're actually gonna use 3 kinds of sour. Vinegar was 1, lime juice, and tamarind. Now, as we know, tamarind is a fruit that grows around the equator. It has a nice sour and sweet flavor. All right, 3 sours in. Now we have to balance the salty and the sour with a little sweet, and that's just gonna be sugar. So for heat, traditionally, pad thai in Thailand is made with sriracha. Now, it's delicious, but if you're serving people who don't like heat, paprika is the perfect balancing point. Paprika, as we know, adds a lot of color because it is a pepper, but it's not too spicy. I like using both for this dish. So I'm just gonna bring all these flavors together. You wanna stir this up until the sugar dissolves. I mean, that's it. It's a lot of ingredients, but balanced together, they make a really phenomenal flavor. I just need to cut my protein, and we're in the pan. For this dish, I'm gonna be using chicken thigh. I think chicken thigh is nice and moist. It doesn't really dry out. I just want you to cut these into nice thin strips. So kind of cut large pieces in half first, find that grain, and then cut the chicken thigh into thin strips against the grain. Really just looking for even kind of bite-sized pieces when using chicken thighs. I'm gonna clean this down, wash my hands, and let's get cooking. I'm using a short enamelized cast iron pan, which is gonna hold heat amazingly. Always high temp oil, getting this pan very hot. And I can see the oil kind of shimmering and little wisps of white smoke starting. So I am starting with the dried shrimp, the garlic, the tofu. I'm just gonna saute these up until they start to lend their flavors to the dish. Now it's time for chicken. I wanna get this chicken seared on the outside, but still nice and rare in the middle, because there's a lot more to cook. When using eggs with noodles or rice, here's a cool technique. I want you to push all of the hot stuff in the pan against one side, pool up a little bit of oil on that open area, and we're gonna crack our eggs right into there. Don't scramble them yet. Let them kind of set and cook up, whites separated from yolks. And once they start to fry up a little bit, then you can kind of bring all the items together. With the eggs not cooked through yet, I want to pull the noodles right out of that water. And check it out. Just in a little bit of time, the noodles have gone from firm to nice and soft. And you want all that extra moisture in the pan to help create steam. So I've judged a ton of food TV, and most people get in most trouble with these noodles. They end up boiling them and then trying to stir fry them again. That is not the right way to go. You want to soak like we did and then get them into the pan, and that's how you get that beautiful kind of slippery, chewy texture that this pad thai noodle has. And if you end up over soaking them or do make the mistake of boiling them, just start over, get a new batch. They're super cheap. So the noodles look soft and cooked down. I'm gonna make a little nice area for the shrimp to be able to cook through. Let's get that shrimp to the bottom so all that heat can start cooking them through. And I'm also gonna throw in that pickled daikon right now. So this is just pickled daikon radish, the white radish. Instead of being sour pickled like a lot of the Japanese or Korean, this is very sweet. So it's got a very bold sweet and slightly sour flavor. Don't be scared to really kind of work all the ingredients in the pan. Scraping is totally okay because you want to scrape the bits up before they start to burn. All right, so my shrimp are about halfway. It's time to add the sauce. So the sauce is actually gonna start to boil immediately. That's gonna create some steam. It's actually gonna deglaze the pan and get all those delicious bits up to the top. And I really wanna just work the noodles and all of the ingredients together to really soak up all those 5 flavors. Here's a really fun trick to kind of cooking up the vegetables. I'm gonna make a bed, right, by kind of really laying everything out evenly. And I'm gonna add half my bean sprouts because I wanna leave some for plating. Some peanuts, leave some again for plating, and those garlic chives. And I want indirect heat here. I want to be able to steam these vegetables so they can kind of impart their flavors and not singe them. So I'm just tucking them in, reading them a story. It's time to put them to bed. Let them steam up for a few seconds before you plate this dish up. So heat's going off. I'm constantly kind of visually checking how much moisture is in this pan because pad thai should be moist, not dry, but it shouldn't be wet. So if I pull up the pad thai and it's dripping sauce, it's too wet. If it's too wet, just let it reduce a little longer. On the other side, if it's a little too dry, you can use the pasta water trick, meaning that soaking water can be added in there to just kind of hydrate the noodles a little more. So I'm gonna lay the banana leaf right in the middle, kind of like how they plate it if you're eating this in the streets of Bangkok. Just lay my pad thai down right in the middle. And you always wanna put the goodies at the top, right? I mean, everyone wants to see the nice shrimp and the tofu right on top, so I like to arrange them kind of right around. Bring this over here, do some final garnishes, a little lime, some of the bean sprouts, and then some of my reserved peanuts. Starving. Just looking at this is making me hungry. So there it is, the Tila family pad thai recipe since 1972, believe it or not. Really one of my favorite dishes. That Chinese-American classic Mongolian beef. I'm starting with flank steak, which I think has a really beautiful beefy taste. Baking soda, cornstarch. Those two kind of alter the meat texture. We want salt now to give flavor. Add some water. Add a little oil. Marinade is made. Now let's cut the meat. So you really want to work that marinade. You want the baking soda and the cornstarch to really coat the beef well. As it marinates, the meat starts to tenderize and it sucks in all that flavor. Give this marinade at least 2 to 4 hours, all the way to overnight. Garlic. All right, bell peppers. And just roll the seed pod. And same thing, cut the onion right in half. Ginger. Last thing, we're gonna cut our scallions. All right, scallions are done. I just need to make my sauce. Oyster sauce is the champion. Hoisin sauce adds a sweetness. Soy sauce gives this a nice salty backbone. Vinegar to lighten. Garlic, ginger, cornstarch, and water to kind of make a gravy and stick to the beef. Let's get that wok hot and let's fire this dish. Beef into the center. Use the surface area of the wok to make sure you're getting as much searing as you can. Drain off any excess oil that I might have. Add the garlic and ginger we cut. Bell peppers and onions were cut to the same size, so they're gonna cook at the same time. The scallions in that we left large. I want that cornstarch to be really mixed in. Add some dried chilies. And all I'm doing now is kind of bringing that sauce to a boil. Oh my God, look at that. Wow. A little bit of garnish. There's this misconception that Asian foods are hard to make, but lo mein is a really simple one-pan dish. Yo, one-pan dish, so easy, so little cleanup. Let's break it down and you'll see how easy it is to make your own restaurant-worthy noodles at home. Most of you know that I'm the culinary ambassador to Thailand, but what you don't know is I'm ethnically Chinese. Both cultures actually use noodles. So for good lo mein, look for an egg noodle pasta similar to this. Any shape will do, as long as it's nice and springy. So no lo mein is complete without baby bok choy. In my opinion, it has great texture, color, and flavor, and is perfect in lo mein.
So now that we're back from the market, let's get prepped out on our lo mein. I like to break up prep into 3 parts. First is gonna be sauce, second will be vegetable prep, and then finally, protein. So let's get started on sauce. In a nice clean bowl, I'm always gonna start with chicken stock. Chicken stock is gonna be the base of this sauce because it's neutral, but it has a nice savoriness to it. To create a glaze, I want to use cornstarch. So as you know, when cornstarch heats up, it's gonna thicken into a sauce consistency. So the next ingredient is gonna be soy sauce. You've used soy sauce a million times. You know it's salty and you know it provides a nice savoriness, but it also starts giving you that brown sauce color. Next is the king of all Chinese sauces. It's oyster sauce. Now, I know oyster sauce sounds a little scary because not everyone loves oysters, but using oyster sauce isn't like eating raw oysters out of the ocean. When you dry out the oysters and add them to the soy sauce base, it creates a phenomenal kind of sweet and savory flavor. And then finally, for a little bit of aroma, you want a little sesame oil. You don't ever want to stir fry with sesame oil because it has a low smoke point, but you do want to use just a little bit for some really amazing kind of aromatic notes. Just think about the lo mein sauce as a marriage of all these flavors and textures. The chicken stock gives you kind of a neutral base, cornstarch helps thicken, oyster sauce and soy sauce give you savory, sweet, and salty, and then sesame oil gives you a little aroma. So our sauce is done, let's move on to our vegetable prep. I like to start with aromatics, and some of my favorite aromatics in the Chinese kitchen are gonna be ginger and garlic. I think a lot of people are scared of ginger. Don't be. There's no reason to be. This is how you wanna take ginger down. Firstly, take off all the little fingers, square off the ginger, and I know my grandma would be mad that I'm throwing that away, but I'm sorry, Grandma. It's cheap and plentiful, we'll be okay. Squaring off the ginger on all sides, and you know that you've squared it off when it stands up straight, and you can just take the back of the knife and use it as a lever, right? And I'm just scraping the skin away. And just continue to do this on all sides. And once you kind of get down to the bottom where the skin is all the way around, just use that cutting edge and just push. Once the ginger is completely peeled through, I just want you to, again, square it off. And just remember, tile becomes a slice becomes a dice. So I'm gonna cut 1/8 inch tiles here. Gather those 1/8 inch tiles together and then cut them into 1/8 inch slices. Boom. Blades of grass, 1/8 inch slices. So ginger done. With garlic, don't overthink it. Give it a smash. Like I said, that's a tile. If I smash something flat, it becomes a tile. So 2, 3. So my garlic is flat into a tile. I can cut it into thin slices. And then if I want to take it down further, I do a 1/4 turn. And then a slice becomes a dice. And you don't need to take garlic down any further than that because it's gonna be hanging out in a 400-degree pan, and you want it thick enough so it can kind of saute, add its flavor, and not really burn. So the next ingredient is gonna be scallions. I like to cut them in half first, put a slight angle on the knife, and then give it a slice this way. And look, I know it tastes the same, but it looks way cooler. And if it looks cooler, it'll plate cooler. If it plates cooler, people are gonna think, wow, you're an awesome chef, and it looks super delicious. Our main green in lo mein is gonna be bok choy. Translation, bok choy means white vegetable. Obviously, it looks green. As it matures, it turns totally white in the stalk, and that's why it's called bok choy. I've just cut off the thickest part of the bulb, and you're gonna discard that. And now you're left with these kind of top leaves. And you're gonna do 45-degree cuts, thinner pieces of the stalk, larger pieces of the leaves. Because what happens is the stalks are denser and the leaves are more delicate. So if you cut the stalk smaller and the leaves bigger, they cook at the same rate. So my grandma always told me that lo mein was the perfect dish to kind of clean out what was left in the fridge. Now I've got bok choy. Let's see what else I could use to kind of boost up this lo mein. So I found some carrots. Now I like these because they give color, they're crunchy, and they're super sweet. I'm gonna show you how to make a coin julienne. Now I think a lot of chefs are like, oh, juliennes, you gotta square off all these pieces. No, this is the easy way to do it. Super extreme bias, meaning I want a lot of surface area, cutting these into about 1/4 inch thick, just like that. Real simple. Lay the coins on top of each other, and I want you to take these tiles into slices. So the reason why I'm cutting juliennes is because I want the carrots to cook very quickly because carrot is usually dense, and I want to kind of give a nice visual pop to the lo mein. And you've just cut carrot julienne. So I'm done with the vegetables. I need to get them off the board because I'm moving on to raw chicken because those things should never cross. Now on cooking shows, you see a ton of these bowls.
Don't do it that way. Take one plate, put it down, put all the vegetables on this plate, which means you don't have 5 bowls to wash, you just have one, which makes life a lot easier and keeps your partner from getting angry at you. There you go. So the last part of the lo mein prep is the protein. I'm gonna be using chicken breast today. It's totally up to you as to what you prefer. Dark meat, white meat, it's all good. The most important thing is you wanna cut this into nice thin tiles. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So this is half a chicken breast. I'm gonna trim off any fat that there is. And then I'm gonna kind of follow the grain first. So I can see the grain kind of running this way. I'm gonna cut with the grain into about 2 to 3 inch wide pieces. And then take one of those pieces and now go against the grain. So when I do a slice, it's gonna give me a really nice thin plank. The reason why I'm doing a nice thin plank is because you want the chicken to sear very quickly, cook evenly, but still be moist in the middle. If the chicken's kind of in funky pieces that are uneven, the chicken won't cook evenly. Now this rule also applies to just about any other protein, including tofu. So now that the chicken's cut, I'm gonna bowl it up, clean everything down, wash my hands, and let's get cooking. The number one question I get with stir fry is, what kind of pan do I need? Do I need a wok? And the answer is no, not at all. My favorite is an enamelized Dutch oven because it's cast iron, holds heat. If you don't have that, a simple pan with high sides that gets hot is totally fine. Another important rule for any stir fry is the pan has to be ripping hot. And what I mean by that is when you get your high temperature oil in, you're gonna start to see white smoke. And once that smoke starts going, you gotta get everything into the pan in the right sequence. So I like using a neutral oil like canola or peanut. I don't like using olive oil or sesame oil. All right, so I'm seeing little wisps of white smoke. I'm gonna add first my aromatics, which are garlic and ginger. I'm gonna just saute these ingredients up until I smell them. I'm not really worried about color because there's a long way to go with all these ingredients. All right, next, chicken. Because chicken takes a while to cook, I wanna get it in sooner. Don't be scared to utilize the surface area of the pan. Really use the entire pan to cook your dish. I'm looking for that chicken to get about halfway because I'm always thinking about what the total cook time of all the ingredients are. The next thing is don't be scared to scrape as you go, because if you're scraping them up now, they won't stick and they won't burn. All the little delicious bits of brown are gonna add to the overall flavor. I mean, in French, we call this fond. Think about that as the foundation of all these flavors you're developing. So the chicken is about medium. I wanna add my vegetables now, reserving those scallions for the top. This dish brings back a lot of memories of my grandma taking me to Chinatown as a kid on the bus, her playing mahjong, us eating dim sum, and then buying all the groceries we needed for that night. You know, she really was my first cooking instructor as a kid. It was pretty obvious that I wasn't gonna be a rocket scientist, so she was like, let's get this kid a trade. So I really got some one-on-one cooking attention from a very young age. I've spent more than 10,000 hours in the kitchen next to my grandma cooking this dish. The veggies are moving along really well. The chicken isn't all the way cooked through yet. This is a good time for my noodles. It's gonna be tough to find a noodle package that actually says lo mein. What you're really looking for in the package is something that's called egg noodle. It's got this kind of nice pale yellow color, and the ingredients should have wheat and eggs in it. If you don't have Asian noodles, don't freak out. I really love using things like fettuccine for this dish. You can cook the fettuccine al dente, rinse it off, let it dry out, and then add it to the pan here. So all the ingredients have cooked through a bit. I'm just gonna add my sauce in there, making sure to really stir that sauce really well to get all the cornstarch in. As the sauce thickens, it really becomes lo mein. I know a lot of you have heard the word chow mein versus lo mein. All chow really means is crispy noodles. So chow mein means crispy noodles with gravy on top. Lo mein means soft noodles in a nice, really thick gravy. Lo in Chinese just means to stir. It's like imagine stirring these noodles into that beautiful gravy as it's tightening up. And you know, Chinese food's been in America for over 200 years. This here is OG lo mein. So what I'm looking for is the cornstarch to start activating, meaning it's starting to thicken up the sauce and it becomes a really nice glaze. Once that starts happening, turn the pan off and just let this continue to cook and all of the noodles and vegetables absorb this beautiful gravy that you've made. So you wanna make sure to keep these noodles as long as possible. It's kind of bad juju to break your noodles because noodles kind of symbolize your long life. And I wanna get as much gravy on there as possible. So the lo mein is down, and I just want to garnish now with those simple sliced scallions. So there it is, my grandma's classic lo mein.